Hello, and welcome to No Place Like Home with Mike and Megan Knorpp, where we believe the center of the universe is your home, and our home, and every other home on the planet. On this podcast, we talk about anything related to that. Homeschooling, parenting, gardening, cooking, really anything, as long as it has to do with being home.
All right, here we are. Once again,
Here we are.
on the blue couch of conversation.
I
That's what I
recall
call
when
it.
I first saw this sofa, and I thought it was amazing and beautiful. You were with me. Did you think the sofa was amazing and
I
beautiful?
like this. This is one of the pieces of furniture I liked when we first saw it.
Really? But you still
Usually
didn't want me to get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can like something without actually wanting you to buy it.
There's almost nothing in our home that isn't secondhand. And so when I first saw this, it was in a thrift store down in Charlotte. And I think it was like $90, $85. And I immediately was like, oh, I love that. And then we sat on it. It was super comfortable. It looked like it had never really been used.
No, it was great shape.
Yeah.
It still is, actually. Somehow
Yeah,
it's remained in good shape. I
yeah,
think it's because it's in the front room, so it doesn't get quite as much mileage as the other stuff.
Yeah, but so I'm happy to be on it for the podcast. It's very comfortable.
Yeah. Hey, look at us. We're actually talking about home decorating kind of on our podcast.
Oh, dude.
We haven't done that yet, but
I would love to talk about home decorating every week.
you would?
Yes, I love home decorating. Mike knows I have 50 books or more on that subject,
Yep.
and I'm always looking at them. And he loves to like sit next to me, and we just look at them
Yeah,
together.
we kind of go through the
I'm like,
pages.
what do you think about that,
and
babe?
I'm just like my rapt attention.
He's like, wow, that's amazing. It's beautiful, babe. I hope our house could look like that.
It's more like you like waking me up.
And then you'll be like, and I'll be like, that's pretty cool, huh? You're like, yeah, that's cool. And then you're like, wait, what? You have no idea. Or you're like, I have a feeling that we talked about this at some point, but I don't have any memory of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's
that
usually
happens
how it goes.
too. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I love home decorating. When we traveled full time for 2 years with the kids, that was one of the things that I missed. I mean, you can decorate an RV, and we did
too.
We did do that. We have had 2 RVs now that we've kind of completely overhauled on the inside, but it's still, and that was fun because it's a small space.
Yeah, it was ours, so we could actually do something with it.
But it was especially painful when we went to Europe because we would like go tour these grand homes or chateaus or castles, and
Then you go back to your Airbnb and you can't do anything
they
about
can't
it.
do anything. You know, you can like hang some paper on the
Lame.
wall or something. But so I love that. It's one of the things that I love the most. I don't know why.
Which is why when I was gone on my little camping trip, I came back to like a new couch, a new table, I think, and new chairs.
6 chairs, yeah.
And
Well,
that just happens.
new old stuff. New old.
Well, that's why we should be grateful for thrift stores, because it gives you the opportunity to do that without spending like a ton of money.
Yeah.
Just kind of a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Much smaller ton.
Yeah, small ton.
Yeah,
A small ton of money. That's what I do. Well, I mean, I like, yeah.
Right.
When Mike went out of town, he's not here. And also, I guess I took advantage of
This
it
is why
because
I don't go out of town too often.
not only were you out of town, though, you were out of service a lot of the time.
Yeah,
So then I
was in
could
the
really
mountains.
pounce on making big decisions on
Well, because
furniture.
you couldn't consult me.
I couldn't consult
say
him.
no.
So it's like, oh, man, you know, I really would like to discuss this with him. But since he's not here, I'm going to have
I
to
guess
purchase
I'll
it.
just have to do it.
There's something
Because not doing it wasn't an option.
I think it's like a convergence of 3 things when it comes to thrifting furniture. I love home design and home decorating.
Yes.
I love furniture and like the history of furniture. And then I love the thrill of the hunt. Like, I don't feel it at new stores. Like, I know there are some people who love to like go to sales and get things on sale.
Yeah.
I feel nothing for that. Like Kohl's, you don't do anything for me, Kohl's.
Well, because everything's on sale. Kohl's.
Yes, but so some people say that like lights up their brain.
Oh, right.
Does nothing for me. For me, it has to be like a junk
a
thing
pile of junk
that
and you
I find, yeah.
the thing.
Not so much junk that there's no chance, right? It's not like that. The stakes don't have to be that high, but like I feel like when it's at a thrift store or secondhand store, an antique mall to some degree, but mostly thrift stores, that like nobody else is going to get this thing like could be something really cool and valuable, and I found it. But also, I can't pay that much for it because that ruins it too.
That's true. If they're charging too much.
Yeah, it just ruins it. And so
it's over.
I find incredible joy. I don't know why, we can live anywhere because we work from home, and we've chosen here. And in part, I wonder if the reason I wanted to live here is because their thrift stores here are amazing.
They are pretty good. Although we didn't know that. I mean, you weren't really thrifting that much, and we kind of decided this was our place.
No.
But it was just
maybe deep down subconsciously I knew.
That's true. There was some part of you. Maybe when you were in the multiverse, there's like another version of you that knew that, and it somehow communicated to you.
Multiverse. No, but I did know because before we left on our RV trip, there were
I'm kidding. I don't actually believe in the multiverse or anything like that. So.
And everything like that. Anyway, so before we left on the RV trip, we did buy furniture at the thrift store there.
That's true.
I just hadn't really defined, I hadn't gotten my confidence. I talk about it kind of often on this podcast and on our YouTube channel that the last few years I've completely liberated myself from caring about what's cool.
How you look and that sort of stuff.
You're
right?
you know what? I can really tell. I can notice that change in you.
It's like a whole beauty culture, you
know.
Let go of that.
No, just there's things that you like, but then you tell yourself not to because ooh, those are out of style, or ways that you dress that would actually be more flattering for you, but they're not in style
or more comfortable.
And then you realize the reason, as you grow up and you're a teenager, there's people maybe at church or your friends' parents or something in the community, and they dress an era, a bygone era.
Yes.
And you think because you're a teenager, you're just well, eh, or gross. Whatever, gross.
I still think that.
I didn't consciously think that, but you kind of think that that they're dorky.
Uh-huh.
But then I think as you get older, you realize one thing, the styles are always changing. And then another thing, you know what? This is where I get off. This is it.
I'm
this is
here.
my stop. I got it. These clothes are comfortable. They fit me well. I get it. I'm not going to keep going with you guys. You guys, good luck. And so I realized now I can look at those were their glory years. That's where they felt the best, and more power to them.
Yeah.
And so
they don't care. They're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah. And so with thrifting, I also like that I know I'm not just going to a store and they've just told me what I have 3 options.
That's true.
These are the things you can like. It's pulling together literally around here 200 years of stuff. And I can look at all of it and decide what I like. And then after doing that for a few years now, something starts to emerge that I guess is your style or
That's true.
Your thing.
No one's told you what to like. You've sort of worked it out yourself.
I mean, everybody has things.
No,
everybody's
you are
told.
completely independent. You're not influenced by anything else.
I love it when people tell you that. They're I don't care about trends. And they're wearing the exact trend. They're I just wear what I want. You're but wow, you just really lucked out that is exactly on trend.
It all just happens to be at Target. That's what's so perfect about it.
Anyways, so I look forward to future purchases at thrift stores. It's just something that's always there.
I wish I could say the same thing. No, it's true. I'm grateful for your ability to find things, because you always you will see something, you'll say that's interesting, that has some value, that thing, which I would have just completely passed over on all the shelves of stuff, and it almost always ends up being something that has some value. Now, you may or may not actually turn around and sell the thing for a profit and make any money on the thing, but at least you recognize the value that's there. And that's pretty good. I think it's
one of the things I've noticed you've really developed over this time, while I've kind of developed my eye.
Huge pectoral muscles?
No, you've developed your ability to get me to move on as quickly as possible and to see negativity in the thing that I'm trying to point out.
I am always.
Your deflects have become really you're hiya.
No, I'm just observant. I realize there's a crack right there though, Megan. Did you see that?
Yeah, but do you need that? Weren't you just saying oh no, you know what? You have
what's great though is, especially if you're actually trying to buy something and you want to sell it, any defect is an instant big strike against it. So
yeah, but I only did that selling thing for a little bit just to appease you.
It's just
I was buying for myself, and then I couldn't fit anything else in the house, and then it was but I still want to go treasure hunting, and then I was I guess I'll sell it. But then after a while, I'm I don't really enjoy the selling part. I just like the buying part.
And you just kept doing the buying thing. That's a good point.
Well, right now,
that was like a bait and switch.
Yes, I am buying less. But what I'm looking forward to moving eventually here so I can buy a bunch more.
Yeah.
But
That's what it comes down to.
no, but also I'm trying to like replace. I'm still in the process of like things that are kind of like, you know, maybe you had something from IKEA. We have very few things like that anymore.
Ew.
But
Not that there's anything wrong with
no,
IKEA.
but you know, where you're like, if I find something like an antique or something of really high quality that would meet the same need, then I replace it. But we've kind of worked through everything just about.
Yeah,
I think I'll come up with some things.
We don't need anything else. We're good. We're all done with that. Thanks.
Isn't it great that we're done? We don't need to buy anything else.
Yeah.
No, I do love thrifting, and I feel grateful for it, and I feel I just feel happy. One of my favorite books in the whole wide world was read to me in, I think, the first grade. We went to the library at the school, and a woman, I don't know who it was, librarian probably.
The librarian? Or mom
read
who's
us a book.
volunteering?
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but she read us the book called The Little House. And I love this book. And it just like, I have no idea, but when I was a kid that day, it like spoke to me like deep, deep down into my soul. And
is that what it's called? It's called The Little House.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Okay.
And it's about this little house that's on a hill, and it's so happy. And I think partially because I love things like, and I make everything alive. And I think a lot of us do, but like
you like to personify things or whatever what's that called when you make something?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Anthropomorphize.
What is it?
Anthropomorphize, maybe. There's a lot of terms because there's anyway. So like I love houses, I love buildings, I love things, and this brought everything together. This sweet little house that this family built, and was so happy to serve them and so happy to be there. And it was like this perfect little hill with little orchards around it and happy family. And then like it got passed down through the generations, and the city just kept getting closer and closer until like it's so sad. Like the house is like right in the middle of these like two big skyscrapers, and it's so sad and like forgotten. But like, and also like it's such a sweet house. Just wanted to serve the family and make a happy place for them. And then
so what do they do?
One day somebody's walking down the street and recognizes it as like their great grandparents' house, and they get it and they move it back out to the country, and the house is super happy again and they live in it. And I guess it's kind of funny that now I have a podcast called No Place Like Home. But even as like a 6-year-old, like I loved this house and this home and this idea. And so I guess part of me feels like I'm doing that moment in the book where like they're walking along and they're seeing this sweet little house, even though it's like broken windows, it's in the dirty, smoky city. They see it and they say, "Hey, I know you have value. I love you." And they take it out and they make it happy again, and it makes them happy.
So you mean like when you find something on the shelf at the thrift store that's obviously been discarded?
Yes. Well, like this sofa. This sofa was loved and purchased, and somebody was like, "Oh, it's perfect," right?
Yeah. And
then they grew older. This is the story I'm going to guess with a lot of things I buy.
Everything we own has a story that we've made up.
That I've completely fabricated. No pun intended.
Oh.
And it shows up at the thrift store, and it feels sad. It's sad now. It's like, it's just junk. And a lot of those things will end up as junk. But then we're like, we scoop it up and we bring it to our house and we love it and we use it, and it gets to serve a happy family again. So it's like hitting that spot like every time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the one word of advice though to give people about these sorts of things is if you are, next time you're in Costa Rica, don't buy the plate that says Costa Rica on it then you're in Honolulu or whatever. Don't buy the thing that says where you're at and then buy that thing, because it will end up at a thrift store. I can assure you of that. The thrift stores are full of that stuff.
Oh, the crazy
don't do
thing.
It.
Crazy
Just
thing
don't.
is, no, do buy it and bring it to the thrift store so people like me. Because remember,
well, we don't buy it though.
Mike, you and I went to France did we tell you we went to France?
Oh my gosh, that sounds so pretentious.
We took Esther for her senior trip to France, and we do it on the cheap because that's the only way we can do it. And they have beautiful things in this part of France, and it's the Alsace region. And one of the things that they make there's
a lot of sauce there. It's all sauce, all man.
Sauce. No, is like these beautiful ceramic dishes, like not dishes, but like cookware.
Yeah.
That's like hand painted and glazed and really pretty. And they were in all of these shops, but like they were expensive kind of. And I was like, I really want to get some, but it's expensive and like.
Well, also putting it in your suitcase, it's going to just get destroyed.
Yeah, and you have to like, how will I actually be able to get it home? And so I did not buy any, but
Yes.
I really wanted to because I do like to bake and I like to have special things like that. But insanely, it was like 3 weeks later. I'm at the thrift store, and there's somebody else went to France for me, bought those dishes, those casserole dishes, and brought them home. And I was there's 3 of them there. That's insane to me. It came from this little region of France. Somebody else went and bought those and then gave them to the thrift store, and I was able to look at all 3 and choose my favorite. And now I have one. And so Mike was right. Like no matter what day of the week, no matter what thrift store it is in the entire world, there are things that people have bought on their travels.
Yep.
I mean, I would just recommend you don't buy something with the name, but some people might like the name because they're like, where did I get that?
Maybe it's a good memory, and that's okay if it's eventually discarded.
It's just not good enough, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Someone decided it's not worth it anymore.
Well, we see stuff like that where there's mementos or something like celebrating a wedding.
Oh, that was so sad.
Yeah,
just
like an anniversary.
Yeah, it was like this big thing for their wedding or their wedding day.
Like what the starry sky was that day that they got married. And
then here it is. That was in 2013 that was made. And now here it is at the thrift store. So
I'm just hoping this is not their style anymore, that the marriage is still intact.
No, the
star chart just isn't their thing anymore. You know?
See, this is it. We everything has a story in our minds.
That's also, I guess, part of what I love about thrift stores is all the like, it just, you're surrounded by stories. Because also you see things, you're like, I can't believe this ever got made. Like, this is the craziest, like, what company is like, hey, you know what this world needs? And then, you know, some random, really weird thing. And so it's like, it's such an interesting place. It's like a museum of humanity at the thrift store. And so I'm learning things about history. Like, I've learned so much by picking something up. I'm like, what is this? And then, you know, I can search it on Google Images, or I can just look at the name on the bottom or whatever. And I learned so much about the history of the United States and of certain regions. But then, or even just like when I pick up pottery, I learn more about the different, you know, types of clay that they use to make pottery. But then I also learned about like things that were popular, you know, in the 1970s, because I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. And then I find out like, no, that was a thing. People liked that. And so I love it. I mean, it's like, it is just so much input for my brain that's what I'm addicted to. I'm not addicted to stuff. I'm addicted.
You are. Okay. It's okay. You are addicted to stuff. It's okay. You can admit it. That's actually part of the healing process, is admitting when you have a problem. I've been to those meetings before.
I know. I'm like looking around. There's like,
I know. I'm not addicted to stuff. This house is full of it.
These things are all around me, but I love it all. I love it. I love it all. I mean, I have like, I'm looking right now at some little plates from, you know, this certain part of France that were hand painted and beautiful and old. I'm looking at
those are also at a thrift store, right? Yep. You didn't get those in France.
And I'm looking at like some KLM, the airline, would give people these gifts. I think if they were like members, like kind of frequent flyer, and they were little houses that are actually based on actual houses in Amsterdam along the canal there. And they made these little blue and white ceramics, and they're actually alcohol bottles.
Right, there's alcohol in them.
There's alcohol in them, and then they have a little yellow wax seal, and they are very collectible. And I found 5 of them at the thrift store for $2 each, and they still have their alcohol in them, but they're worth like $50 each. But mostly,
not anymore, but they did that before.
Yeah,
just kidding.
You're like, no, but I have, you know, it's pretty fun. But I love those. I'm looking at those. I have.
Okay, it's okay. We don't have to go through everything. There's too much stuff.
You don't want to hear?
No.
I think they want to hear.
That sounds more like a vlog situation.
Anyway, so I do love things, and I love that and I connect with the things that I buy. Like, the reason I bought the Amsterdam things is not only do I love blue and white china, but I have ancestors from Amsterdam, not just ancestors? 3 generations back. My great grandparents.
Are these Amsterdamians?
Amsterdamians.
Okay.
I just call them Dams. I don't know.
Damians?
We're so dumb.
No, we're not. We're cool.
You're so cool. I meant to say that.
Anyways, so is this a thrifting podcast?
I guess it is. I never knew how we would talk about thrifting, but
didn't you say that in the intro, right?
I have said it before.
Or
in home decorating. Yeah. And you know, here we are.
Yeah.
So, and I guess more of my thoughts on thrifting is the more that I've gone to thrift stores and seen even stuff that's like currently being sold at like Target is also at thrift stores. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, if it's actually from Target or what, but or something that was sold like 1 month ago at Target is at like Goodwill. I think they have some sort of deal with Goodwill where they give Goodwills their kind of stuff. But
what's your point? What do you say?
Well, as I've done that and as I've seen that, I'm like, dude, we have a problem. I love stuff, but when I'm at the thrift store or if I've gone back to Target or other home stores and they're full of things, and I know that thrift stores are full of things, I imagine these factories that are just like making. And it's like, I don't know that we need to make things anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like at least not at the level that we're making
stop
them.
all making of things.
I mean, that's complicated, right? Because there's a lot of jobs.
Well, of course it's complicated. It's okay, but you can say it.
Well,
I mean, you're not going to, no one's going to say like, we should stop making everything, but
no, I'm just saying, I don't
true.
know if we need as many things as we think. And also what has happened is we've become in the United States more, at least for a while now, we've had more affluence, right?
Yeah.
And so we make more things, but then we make them for cheaper. And so the quality has definitely gone down.
Right.
In general. And so it's like, dude, I know that is in style now. Like you're going and buying these baskets, but do you know how many baskets are at the thrift store? Like, I don't know if you need to go to Hobby Lobby and buy baskets.
That's true. You should have a list of things that are commonly found at the thrift store, like put it on our website or something so people know.
Well, I think every thrift store is different, but
That's true.
And you have to get to know them. But I do know that
And
it
know the
takes
people
two
work
things.
there.
One, you have to like not be grossed out. I know.
Impossible for me.
Who was I? Did I overhear somebody at the thrift store? Oh, no, I was talking to those women. You were with me. And they were talking about thrift stores.
Oh, and they couldn't even.
They were like saying how grossed out they were.
Yeah, they were saying like they
Where
walk
was
in,
that?
they walk out sort of thing.
Was
I
that at a
don't
doctor's
remember.
office?
No, it was like church or something.
And they're like, I know, I'm just like, every time I go into a thrift store, I feel like I need to like shower like right immediately and like wash off because it's so gross. And
They
I'm
don't
like,
actually
hey.
talk like this, so if you're listening, we're sorry because you don't actually talk.
I was talking that way to show how like kind of grossed out they were.
Yeah.
And like Mike and I both know that I'm in thrift stores every day.
Right.
And so I like play it cool, like, oh yeah, thrift stores are so gross.
I don't ever go in thrift stores. But you have to put up with that a little bit in thrift stores. It's impossible for things not to be dirty. In fact, Elijah, he's behind the scenes right now for recording this, but he used to work at the thrift store and he wore these gloves, right, to like sort clothes, and by the end of the day they'd be brown and grody.
Yeah,
right?
they were like super oily and
Yeah.
yellow and like
I
dark.
know. I am
pea
aware
yellow.
of that. And
you know,
there's like, after
you
I've
gotta be
touched
willing.
some things, we kind of always have our running joke, like, I really regret touching that. Because you like reach out and touch them, you're like, no,
I'm very picky on what I
Like,
touch at the thrift store.
Yeah, I like keep my hands kind of balled up, or I keep them in like my back pockets or front.
I keep them above my head wherever I go to the thrift store. I'm like walking around.
Hey, I'm saying you look kind of crazy, but then you'd fit right in. Just
That's
me and
true.
all
They're
the
also
crazies.
thrift stores are full of characters too.
Oh,
it's
so
true.
many characters.
It's good people watching. as
Oh,
well.
it's a great people watching, and I'm sure they're watching me too because I'm a character. Because especially these ones I frequent, it's funny because I'm always coming with different children of
I
even
know.
different races.
They're like, what is this lady's deal?
I know, like, what's her story? Like, okay, so that must be her child, and then it's like, well, wait, this is a different one, and then like another one. It's pretty. You know, I'm
You need
definitely part of the crowd there.
You need a T-shirt that breaks down all your children and like the situation with each one, like a sign you can wear.
Yeah, and then Eve like loves to go to the thrift store with me, and I think the one thing that she loves there is just being really excited about everything. So we're definitely an interesting pair because she'll be like, ooh, and like, oh,
She wants you to look at everything.
all the whole time, no matter what it is, and I'll be like, and so she can't stop, and so she'll just like grab any like a broken anything, and she'll be like, ooh, and I'll be like, yep, and I have to acknowledge it all. So I'm sure we are quite interesting.
Well, and if people don't know, Eve is our 13-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, so
Yeah.
it is another level of sort of interaction there with her.
So we're, we fit right in.
At the
but
thrift store?
Yeah, I love it.
Oh.
I love it. And I know that I need to like,
Seems like you could write a book on thrifting and sort of like the poetic sort of meaning of life side of it, like
Yeah.
the kind of the deeper meaning of it.
yeah, if I were
Don't
good
you
at
think?
writing books. Yep.
Oh,
That's
there's
the
that.
only
I
missing
forgot.
piece. Yeah.
Dang it.
I mean,
we'll have Andrew do it for you.
okay.
He'll be your ghostwriter.
Ghostwriter. Yep. That'll be
That'll
Andrew's
work.
rest of his life. So I do love it. And I encourage people to start to get to know those things and to get more comfortable with it. And I think probably it's already, I see it on the rise. I've seen lots of articles in home decor magazines and saying that that's a thing now. I was telling you just the other day.
Yeah, you were saying that they suggest that you have a few like found items or whatever, not everything new, to give it a little more variety and texture, I guess, essentially.
They're like acknowledging that maybe if you buy everything new, this is hard for them to do because who do you think's paying for those magazines?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They can't say get it all.
These
thrifted.
designers and home decor brands are paying these magazines to sell their wares.
Right.
But they're like, yeah, maybe one thing in the room should be used or found or vintage, that sort of thing.
But not everything.
No, everything you should buy every season new, but except for one thing. But I do think there is something to be like when you walk in a room, and sometimes I'll watch these things on like Architectural Digest with like the celebrities.
I love celebrities.
It is
in their
such
homes.
a funny thing. It's like it seems like there's like this process a celebrity goes through. They buy a house. They bring in designers.
They overhaul the thing.
The designer buys all of the furniture, and then the celebrity shows up on a Monday, and on Tuesday are giving a tour to Architectural Digest, and like none of it really means anything to them. They're just like, oh, I just thought this was so beautiful. My designer, she did such a good job on this room, and I'm like, does any of this your stuff? Like,
well, it is. They
don't say like, yeah, I found this here, or like this was my mom's, thing. It's all like they just walked in, and it's like looking at that room, I have no idea what kind of person you are except wealthy.
Well, that's what you need to know.
Trend,
that's the
but like,
part.
there's nothing in there that tells me anything about yourself or anything, and so I just think it's funny. It's like, so is this like?
No, it's an
process. Yeah, like I don't know who's paying for this and why they do it. I guess it's good for their career. I don't know.
Architectural Digest isn't coming to our house, so
yet
that tells you something.
You know what? They wish they could come to our house.
Totally, they would if they knew about us.
No, I know. I mean, it's obviously some sort of like, hey, we're gonna show you this chair that I bought, and they have a vested interest in that and stuff.
Totally.
But
also I think people are gonna watch it, but. So what I want to ask you to bring this sort of to our like home-centered podcast that we have here that we're talking about. How does this, being able to do this with all this thrifted stuff that's kind of all around us, how do you think that affects the home life for your family? Like, really, what does it do? Not that you've ever thought about this or anything, but
I have thought.
I figured
quite a
we
bit
should
about
bring
it
into the actual kind of concept of home and a place like home.
I mean, on the one hand, one of my favorite songs, definitely one of my favorite Christmas songs, is one by Nat King Cole called "A House with Love in It," and it's hard to find. It just happened to be on some album that you had, some CD you had. But
is it a Christmas song? Or does it just happen to fall with Christmas
I think
music?
that was in a Christmas program. He did like a Christmas special that was on television, and he happened to sing it in this Christmas special. It is hard to find, and it's only from that Christmas special. It was never recorded otherwise with Nat King Cole.
Okay.
But it's "A House with Love in It" is rich indeed. And he talks about like
now?
the carpet may be old, the rooms are worn and whatever.
It says the rooms may be bare, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And so I believe that. And I think that a rich home is full of love and good
lots of stuff,
laughter, and live, laugh, love.
Yes,
but
that should be up on the
those
wall.
things are definitely what make a home rich and full. But I also believe that what you are surrounding yourself with really affects you. And I think anybody who's maybe found themselves in a situation where they're at someone's residence and it's very chaotic, cluttered, or maybe very dirty.
Okay.
Or dark.
Okay.
Or whatever makes you feel one way.
Right.
Or maybe even just an easier, like a room of yours that's very chaotic and cluttered, and then you clean it up and how much better you feel. But that it's not just between clean and dirty.
Okay.
I totally and completely believe that you are creating spaces and they are telling a story back to you all of the time of what you value, who you are,
right,
and what is important in this world. I guess that's what you value. But and so if your home is full of, sometimes I see these celebrities that like have,
once again, celebrities.
I know, but those are the people that are sharing their homes, and they have these big photographs of like people dancing in like black and white at some like concert. And what that's saying is, this is important to me. This is like what I think is like the best of the world. It really is, because this is what you've chosen to put up on your walls.
Okay.
And so the art that you hang on your walls, it's not just like, you should realize it's not just the colors that look nice, but like it's constantly mirroring back to you what you should think about and who you are. So like religious art is often what people choose. A lot of us choose now like quotes. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
But I also think the furniture, the style that you've chosen, the colors, all of those things, not only for yourself, but for your children and anybody else that comes into your home, is saying, this is important and this is what I value.
Okay.
And so I do think it is not a coincidence that Grand Millennial has come in. It's a new style, or grandma chic.
Yes.
It's a new trend if you haven't heard of it, and it's kind of traditional design.
Is this an Architectural Digest by any chance?
I'm sure. I don't know if it's made it to that, but it's on
Okay.
Pinterest and it's talked about in other places. But Grand Millennial is like traditional design coming back. It's sometimes very cluttered, but it's just cozy. It's got a lot of pattern, and it looks like your grandma's house. That's where the grand comes from.
Okay.
And it totally exploded in the 2020 and 2021. And I think it's on purpose, because before that, the big idea was like this minimalistic,
Yeah.
modern, right?
Was it Marie Kondo, or what's her name?
Marie Kondo, yeah.
Where we all got rid of everything and then later realized, actually, I want some of my
Like
stuff.
for some of us, books do spark joy. I'm not going to only just own two.
Yeah, Marie, you can't tell me what to throw away.
That was the problem with that. I'm like, but what if all of it sparks joy? For me, But no, I think, so we had this very mid-century modern style and minimalist style, and it was like everything is white, and that's totally legitimate. And I'm not saying that doesn't bring a lot of people joy and make them feel really good and mirror back. For some people, that's probably incredibly soothing. But the rise in this Grand Millennial or grandma chic style, I think, is because everything feels really weird out in the world. And
Right.
especially in 2020 with the pandemic, and there were riots, and they're just things that all sorts of new ideas just coming at us all the time. I mean, it's in the summer of 2021, they're like, oh, by the way, there's aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And our world is so weird that we're like, oh, yeah,
Nobody really
makes
cared.
sense. We just like move on.
Not a surprise.
Like nothing's a surprise anymore. Like you feel like anything can be declared, and you're just like, really? That's weird. And like,
oh, well.
yeah. And so I think that is absolutely related to people wanting to have a home full of traditional things, celebrating traditional. I think it's in a way traditional ideas.
Okay.
It feels safe. It feels connected to history. It feels connected to your grandma, right? Because it reminds you of how
Like
cozy her house felt.
time, perhaps,
and just
maybe?
like a time, a time that valued different things. And
Okay.
so, I know for me, that's huge in my home. I'm realizing like that I love antiques, and as I have the antiques in my house, I look at these things and I start to think about the people that made them. And then I start to think that maybe they weren't that different than me, or, I feel a connection with them as I have their things in my house. I'm like, right in my line of view is a Victorian mirror from like the late 1800s.
Right.
And I love it. And then I think about somebody else who loved it and had it on their, dressing table. And so you feel very connected and grounded in a time when, I think all of us are feeling like the world's a little chaotic. So I do
Right.
think that's connected. And I think that's something to think about. Does my home reflect back to me? Is it serving me in that way?
Yeah.
In the things that I've put in it? Is it And so I think a lot of the times it's very natural to do what's on trend, because it reflects back to you that you're doing a good job.
Right. Yeah. You're looking for that gold star. Like,
Yes.
you did it right.
And I think, I went to public school, and I think it is definitely related to that, because, I mean, maybe this is a reach, but when you're in school, how many times do your teachers say, like, I don't want it to be this way. I don't want it to be this way. Just do it exactly as I tell you. I want it in this font. I want it with this spacing. I want it in this color folder.
Right.
And then if you do it all right, you get a good grade and you're really happy. Like, I did it. I did it exactly the way they wanted. And you're not really encouraged to do anything else.
Well, yeah, you're discouraged
Yes.
to do that.
And so I think that when you leave school, it's like, hey, everybody, here's how you get a good grade on your house. Like, paint it this color with this type of trim and these type of cabinets and these type of knobs and like these lights, all of these things. And you're like, and in fact, it's, gross. Do you have these? Those are so out. I mean, how
Yeah.
many videos are on YouTube are like trends that are out in 2022? And it's like, what? Like, that's so silly. Like, why? Why do you, what? That doesn't mean anything, but it's so ingrained in us to get a good grade, to do the thing that we're supposed to do. And so you can drive down a street sometimes, I think it's crazy, and everybody's got the same thing hanging on their door.
Right.
Or the same things on their porch, or you go in their house. I love looking at like the real estate app.
Yeah, because you can look in people's houses.
I know. I love looking at people's houses.
You're such a spy.
I know.
What is that called?
A peeping Tom?
Yeah, that's what you are.
A creep?
No.
A weirdo?
Yeah.
And so...
A little bit.
And you look, and real estate apps is not, because people do decorate to appeal
Sure.
to the masses, but it's like all of the houses look the same, and it's going to be disappointing because you'll see this really interesting house, and you're like, ooh, and you look inside, you're like, oh. This looks like everybody else's. They have the same
Boring.
backsplash, the same counters, the same cabinets. Like, everything's the same. Same flooring. Like, really, everything.
Yeah.
And then another thing I do love doing, which also makes me a creep, is going for walks or drives in the evening because everybody has their lights on and their
Yeah, I know.
blinds open and you can see inside. But often it's the same thing. It's like, everybody's house looks the same. And I just
at
think it's
night,
ingrained
you
in
should
us.
close your blinds, otherwise Megan's going to be there looking at your house, just so you know. Be careful.
Do you remember back in the day
If you
on
look
Conan
outside and you see
O'Brien?
a car parked in front of your house, that's Megan.
You remember in Conan O'Brien, they would do the peeping Toms?
Yeah, it was Tom Cruise and Tom Jones
And like Tom Hanks, and they were like cardboard cutouts that would like come up.
come up into the window. That was good. That was a good bit.
Yeah, so I don't creep too much, but yes, I do.
So I have another question for you.
Wow, I love
I'm
getting asked
interviewing you right
questions.
now, and I'm trying to lean into the shot because I'm leaning against the side of the couch. I'm a little bit on the edge here. We know that. So there's one thing as far as like, decorating the way you want to and how it reflects for you. What do you think does that do anything good for your children? Like how does that affect your family as a whole though? Like, is there value there in that? Or
I think so.
what does it do? What does it do for your family in general?
I think
As
that
a positive thing.
what you have in your home tells your children what you value. And what you think is beautiful.
Okay.
Andrew and I have this conversation a lot about, is beauty subjective? And like everybody thinks it is. Like, well, that's beautiful to me or whatever. That's just my style. But is that actually true? Like, yes, we all have like our favorite color or things that appeal to us more, or like some people like the desert and some people like the mountains. But is beauty actually truth?
Okay.
Is it not subjective?
Right. It just is, or it isn't.
And so I think that's kind of a deep idea, but I
That's
actually
a whole
believe
nother
that
topic.
I believe that beauty is a thing.
Okay.
And I believe that beauty like follows rules
Okay.
of line and form and color. And then I also think that when you surround yourself with beauty, it elevates you emotionally and spiritually. I actually believe that.
And it does it for your children as well.
Yeah,
Whether
so-
they realize it or not.
Yeah. And so I think if you are in a beautiful space, it changes how you feel. And I think classically designed spaces change how you feel. They elevate you. And I mean, if you've ever been into a, like there's these beautiful libraries that are designed very classically, they make you feel a little heightened.
Okay.
There's a little bit of
You
a
act
reverence
differently
there.
there.
Yeah, you think different thoughts there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the I totally believe that. And I think one of the proofs of that is, which I found so fascinating. Okay, let me take you back. When Mike and I went, in 2013 to China to pick
Okay.
up Daniel, Eve, and Jude.
No, this was 2015.
You're right. That 2013 was Jude was born. 2015, we went to China.
Not that it matters.
And you went up north to pick up Daniel. And I went to this city that nobody had heard of before called Wuhan.
Oh, right. Yeah, you were there.
I went to Wuhan.
This is pre-COVID, folks.
And because that's where I picked up Eve. Her orphanage was like an hour or two from there. And
You
that's
toured
the
this
capital.
lab. And
Yeah,
you came
no.
back.
I had a little bit of a cold. No, I'm just kidding. This was
Megan
in
was patient
2015.
zero.
But in Wuhan, it's a very pretty city. And it's where Chairman Mao had his vacation home.
Right.
Because, communist leader, man of the people, beautiful,
home.
incredible vacation home with a Rolls Royce in it.
Naturally.
Naturally, that follows tracks. But I went to go see the vacation home. It was closed, like to go inside, but you could look through the windows. One thing.
Did they know you were on the property, or was this like, is this like a thing that people do?
You could walk around. It was just in a park now.
Oh, okay.
But it was a beautiful mid-century home, which I was surprised by. I was really into mid-century at the time.
Right.
And I looked through the windows. It was incredible mid-century furniture. And I was like, wow, Mao had some style, right? Because mid-century is cool.
Yes.
And we could, I since then, coming home and learning more about the communist revolution and what communists believe about design and beauty.
Okay.
They love mid-century design.
Okay.
Which I thought was really interesting. And part of it, they hate classical design.
Okay.
And that's because classical design, we're talking about like Roman and Greek type of designs and like beautiful sculptures. In this places they took over, they took down all of the sculptures and put up cubist or modernist art in statues. And they did that on purpose. And in fact, that was part of they had goals in the United States and in the Western world of how they would bring communism to the Western world. I'm getting in deep here, guys.
Oh boy!
But one of them
sounds like
conspiracy
theories.
Yes, in public spaces to replace classical art with modern art.
Right.
And I think that's kind of creepy when you start to think about it. And I believe, and I think they obviously do too. Classical art connects you with the past.
All right.
It connects you with knowledge and information and with your ancestors and with and it makes you feel different, like you're part of something and that there's truth.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's beauty. You think about like a beautiful, Renaissance painting and the lighting, like a Caravaggio, go look it up, like beautiful lighting.
How do you spell that? Caravaggio?
Carav. There's more double letters here, and I don't know which ones. Vagio.
Okay.
Some of those are double R's or double V's or something like that.
Or double G's, maybe.
Yes, definitely double G's.
Definitely.
Anyway, so it celebrates humanity. It celebrates knowledge and information and the past.
Okay.
And they didn't want that. They wanted you to feel disconnected from that.
Right. They want, because they want now is what's important.
Yes.
And those past things
don't
are
think
old
about
and
that.
we don't want to be connected.
Don't connect with other people even. Don't celebrate heroes from the past. Everything that came before is bad.
Right.
And you see that now. And if you go into a park, you'll see like a statue or a weird sculpture. You're like, am I supposed to I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's just a shape.
Yeah, it's a shape or color. And you're like, am I just not cool enough? And it's actually on purpose, though. It is, the ultimate is brutalism. If you go look up brutalism, it's very obtuse. It's hard to understand. It's supposed to be. It's brutal, right?
Okay.
And it makes you feel different. And they know that. They wanted that. You think about even Nazi architecture. It's very cold and hard. It's not cozy.
Loved, what was it?
Art Deco.
Art Deco.
Yeah. To a certain degree.
Okay.
But so I think Germany loved Art Deco. That's kind of where it was at its height, and then the Nazis came in. But their architecture is very cold and hard, and so it obviously affects you. It's obvious that the bad guys know it affects you too.
Okay.
And so you have to think about in your home, what are you celebrating? What story are you telling? Are you connecting with beauty and truth? And do you want people to feel comfortable here, or do you want people to feel cool here? Okay. And I realized beforehand that I wanted to feel cool in my house. But then it's like, who defines what cool is? And what does that even mean? And why does it matter? And why does it matter? And so often cool was these things that made you feel disconnected from the past. They weren't necessarily very comfortable, but they were cool, and they were avant-garde and edgy.
Yeah.
And I started to question those things as I got older. And even after that time and learning about Mao and how he was all mid-century, the same style as me. And then to find out that the communists love mid-century style. I'm not saying if you love mid-century style, you're a commie, okay?
No, that's what we're saying. That's our definitive statement.
I still think there's some really beautiful, incredible pieces that are mid-century. But what I am saying is that what you put in your home and what you surround yourself with matters and it affects who you are. And you should be very, very careful with that.
Right.
I also think that with like tattoos. I see people get tattoos and I think back to if I had chosen to get a tattoo when I was younger, how much I am locked in, and that message is constantly reflected back to me from my arm or from wherever you put the tattoo of who you are and what you want people to understand about you. And when you're young, you think, well, I'm going to be that forever and I want to be cool and this is cool and I'm going to think this is cool forever. And that's what I want my identity to be. But really, I'm at my midpoint in my life, maybe even not quite there yet, hopefully, right? I'm 43.
You're definitely past midpoint, sorry to say.
No, I hope to live past 86.
Right. Okay.
But like, I don't think the same things are cool anymore. And in fact, I'm not into that whole cool thing. It's made up by people who just want me to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think we should be really careful. Tattoos are like super in, and I get there's lots of cultural and historical parts, but like, everything that you surround yourself with, the clothes that you put on, ask yourself why you're doing it and what it's telling you about yourself. Uh-huh. And what is it locking you into? Because it's definitely locking you into something. And that's why I even like with my kids and like their hair, like I know that hair doesn't matter, but it actually does kind of matter because you look at the mirror and you're like, this is what I'm communicating to the world. And so I'm going to conform with that. This is the identity I'm taking on, and I'm going to conform with that. And so your home is the same way. The type of home that it is, what you have up on your walls, the furniture you're sitting on is telling a story. And we can't help but naturally want to conform with that story. And so if you can put up things that try to elevate your story and try to like make it connected with history and with beauty and with high ideals, I think that's a good idea.
And it's good for your family.
Yeah.
It's good for your kids.
Uh-huh. And even I was thinking about a couple days ago, I have a lot of books. In fact, I asked one of my kids yesterday, hey, will you go and count how many books I have? He was like, no, it would take forever.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do wonder how many books I have. I thought he'd be excited about it. You know, sometimes you think your kids love certain things. I'm like,
no, you got to ask Jude to do that.
I know.
Then he'd be excited.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if his count would be accurate though. So he decided to do it, but maybe not helpful. And so I was thinking about how many books I have and how I haven't read them all. I try to only buy books that I think are good books that have truth in them. But a large part of why I have so many books is because I want my children to understand the importance and value of books.
Right.
I want to celebrate books because in celebrating books, I'm celebrating knowledge and I'm celebrating the acquisition of knowledge.
Okay.
And truth and high minds and ideals and all of these things. And so they know what's important, and they, you know, I could have a huge CD collection, or not CD, DVD. Nobody does that
CDs
anymore.
are cooler.
But you know, or I could have a big movie poster collection. And I'm not saying that those things are bad. I'm just saying that they tell you and your children something. What you hang on your walls and what you collect tells your children what is valuable and worth collecting.
Right.
And so thankfully, I can collect really wonderful books that are important and have changed history for $2 to $10 each at the thrift store, you know?
Yeah.
And the same with furniture. And I've become much more aware of what I want to celebrate. And sometimes that's not in style. And sometimes I actually like that it's not in style, that it's counterculture, because sometimes I think our culture is kind of messed up.
Yeah.
And that I can say to my kids immediately, we're not like that. We're not trying to be that. We value something different.
Sure.
So yeah, thanks for the question.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So we want to thank our sponsor, Goodwill, for today's episode.
Oh my gosh.
You should actually get in contact with them.
We always say that we're always being sold something, but no, we're not. We are not affiliated with any thrift store.
I won't even claim that they do Goodwill with their.
We don't know.
We don't know.
We just know
I
we
won't
get
claim
good
that.
deals.
Yeah.
But I think I think that's all good, and that all does relate to family and home. So we actually talked about home decor, decorating, and thrifting today, as relates to the family and home. So
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I think that your home should be a temple, in the sense of like, if you were to make a temple to Athena, you would have a statue of Athena in there. You would like decide what the ways you would worship her, and the decor would would all reflect that, right? And everything about that temple would reflect that. And so you have to ask yourself, what do I value and prize most in this world, and make my home a temple to that. And I think that it should be somewhere that's clean-ish. It doesn't have to be cold and sterile, but it's hard to feel elevated, happy, cozy feelings in somewhere that's too messy.
Yeah.
That's something I'm not great at, and I'm grateful that you are, Mike.
I'm okay at it.
Yeah.
Okay enough.
No, he's great at it. I don't know why he's saying that.
I'm being modest.
And then
prideful.
just be really intentional about it. And I do think I mean, we keep talking about how crazy the last couple of years are. I don't think it's getting any better anytime soon. I really don't. I hope that's not pessimistic. And I've said it a lot on here before, I guess, but I think I just don't worry about it. Just do your own thing now then. You can't think that where you're going, or even that your library down the street is going to value the same things as you anymore. You can't take for granted that the culture of your community is going to be the same one that you want to celebrate.
Uh-huh.
And that's okay. Like, just do your thing and make your house the center of your universe, the place that does reflect back to you the things that are important to you and the things that you value. And like we talked about in our last podcast, like, really cultivate a home that like enthralls you, that inspires you, that attracts you, that a place that you want to be and that makes you better. I really think like your decor can make you better by when you come here, things are a little bit heightened in a good way. Like you think higher thoughts, you think happier thoughts, and you try to work a little harder to be a better person.
That's great. Good job.
What
Megan,
do you think?
I think it's really good. Megan is good at thinking about stuff.
I overthink.
No, I don't think so. I think you're so good at like really considering all the implications of anything that we're doing or not doing. And for me, I just think, yeah, I don't know, put some stuff on the wall. Like if it was left to me, I definitely would not be that conscientious about what my home looks like. So I think that's a strength of yours.
Well, thanks for
letting me
do it.
You don't just do it just for the heck of it. You actually have a reason you're doing it, and it's a well thought out reason. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, as I was growing up as a teenager, I thought it was going to be really boring to be a mom. I felt a little resentful about it. I thought homemaking was like, whap, whap.
Yeah.
But now I believe that homemaking is like the most exciting and sacred thing a human can do.
Sure.
Because why is it so much more meaningful to go to work at an office for somebody else?
That's a whole nother topic.
And even if you do go to work in an office for somebody else, your most exciting job is making your home.
Right.
That's the center of your universe.
Yeah.
It's your thing. And homemaking can be as beautiful and detailed and rich and complex as you make it. And when you do that, and I think you start to see how fertile that soil becomes, the soil of your home and your home experience for the people that are in it. And that gets really exciting too, and it motivates you to, I think, keep doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, those are the best. Back to Architectural Digest.
Oh, right.
Every once in a while they go in a home that's incredibly interesting. You're
right.
like, wow. And you watch them. I do. I watch them again and again. People whose homes actually don't look like anybody else's because they look like them.
Right, right.
And where the objects in them matter to them and have meaning and reflect back things to the people in that home. Like, I got this here, or this was my mother's, or it reminds me of this thing, or I don't know why I love these things. And those are exciting homes to be in. And it celebrates the richness of our complexity and diversity as humans. And so, I don't know, maybe start to ask yourself how you can bring more of yourself into your home, and then be excited that probably your local thrift store can support you in that journey a little bit better even than your home decor stores.
Yeah, you won't spend as much money at least.
Yeah. Well, I think you probably have more diversity of options.
Yeah. Well, and also it makes you what we've seen lately, because we're trying to avoid going to some of these bigger box stores, is that you you kind of wait to buy stuff, and you sort of wait for the thing to show up that you're looking for at the thrift store. And I mean, again, going back to the thrift store, like it can help you to avoid spending probably unnecessary money, and maybe you don't buy as much stuff, and then you spend less on the things you do buy. So,
well, and then also they're going to be slightly broken a lot of the time.
right.
But I still think they're going to be higher quality. They're
Yeah.
going to last longer. And so it also, you start to learn how with a little bit of work,
And glue. A little bit of wood glue.
wood glue and a little bit of finagling, you can restore this item and then it will last. I think we've become a society that doesn't do that when it's so easy to just go and get something new.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, no, these older things are really high quality. They just need a little bit, maybe tightening a few screws, redoing the glue,
Yep.
and then they're back to like good quality, long lasting things.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't want to push on this too hard, but I guess at the end of the day, thrift stores are going to save the world.
I mean, I don't want to make any big statements here. or
I mean,
anything,
I don't want to push too hard on this and make a deal out of it, but truth and beauty
the right
lie
thrift
in the
stores,
thrift
that is.
store.
Again,
Yeah.
it's kind of depends on what you're close to. So
Facebook Marketplace.
that's true. That's a good option too. All right. Well, should we leave it there? I think that's pretty good. That was a good discussion. So thanks for coming along on our little journey through thrifting and home decor and family. And always enjoy the conversation.
Yes,
with
thank you,
Megan.
Michael, for asking the questions.
Oh, no problem.
I love when somebody's interested
I
in
love
things I'm
I
interested
love
in.
asking questions. I just don't like answering them. So that's a good balance we got.
And special thanks to our producer and editor, Elijah Knorpp.
Yeah, he's helping out now.
Yep.
So if this sounds horrible and looks horrible, that's his fault, not ours.
Just blame me.
If you can hear, we left the AC running today
So
because
we
it was so
wouldn't be
hot. So
sweaty
you probably
pigs.
heard the AC going on and off. So we apologize. But we are in our home, and we love to do what we can here. So that's it.
Thanks,
so
guys.
Join us next time. Review the podcast if you like it. Don't review it if you don't. And
Shove it.
keep your opinion to yourself unless it's good opinion.
You can't say something nice. Don't write it or anything at all.
That's true. Words to live by. So we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
ya.